Put the bear down, Bonnie. Put it down. Hi guys, it's Sarah. Welcome back to another video here on my channel. I hope you guys are doing well. Happy Friday. I'm feeling so all over the place today. I've got 2 videos I need to film, this one and another one, and the other one, the script took so long, so many more hours than I thought it was gonna take. I was stunned by how long it took. So I'm just feeling like and I'm ready to get into a gossip session about our favorite Mystic Falls idiots. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, don't forget to do that now before we get started, just so you don't miss any new videos in this series. Do you guys want to see my planner for the year really quick? Let me show you how big it is. You're gonna be like, what is that? For reference, here's my original bullet journals. This is what they normally look like. This is where I keep all my planning stuff. This year's, for 2024, sorry, it's so big. Yeah, it's incredible. 10 out of 10. I do recommend. This is the best thing ever. So, okay, let's get into it. We open episode 4 with another 3 years from now flash forward. Rick is still building bombs. No, just kidding. He's actually trying to fix a children's toy. You know, for his children that are alive. You had one job. Yeah, so the girls are alive. We get to look at them. There's 2 of them. One of them's blonde, one of them's got dark hair. He calls one of them Josie, and they go running off down the hall, and then they go quiet. So Rick is like, up, up, up. I will not be fooled today. He gets a gun from a secret hiding spot and goes sneaking down the hallway, where we see Damon standing at the threshold to the house staring at the girls. Rick's like, the fact that you're here means that somebody died. Damon goes, no, not yet, but if you don't do what I say, that could change really quick. So, are you gonna invite me in? Present day, we see Rick at the morgue with Joe's body. He tells the worker that he needs the place to himself for the day and like bribes him off with more money. Lily calls Damon asking to hear from Oscar before she gives Elena back to him. He goes into the building and finds Oscar's dead body stuffed in a closet. Stefan is upset with Damon for making all of these ridiculous decisions about how to get Elena back and like getting them in more and more trouble. So now he's refusing to help. Enzo walks into the Salvatore kitchen to find Valerie making breakfast for Oscar since he's supposed to be coming home that day. And Enzo was like, that's so sweet, especially given how late you got home last night. Lily comes in and is like, could I please speak to Valerie alone for a minute? Enzo's like, oh, sure. Is anything wrong? Lily says, no, it's just family business. Lily confronts her not about Oscar, but about lying about her relationship with Stefan, and Valerie's like, I'm so sorry, Lily. I know I went against your wishes, but I was just a foolish human back then. And she basically like pretends that like, yeah, it mattered more back then, but she acts like now she's fine. Lily tells her that if there's anything else she needs to say, she needs to do it right then. And Valerie's like, no, oh my God, Lily, I don't have any more secrets. I don't have anything to hide. I should go look for Oscar. And she goes to run after him, and Lily's like, that won't be necessary. We cut to Nora and Mary Louise on the Whitmore campus going to look for Oscar. Obviously he's dead, so Damon and Stefan are trying to hide him in Rick's rooms. Nora comes in with Mary Louise and she can smell the blood on them, but they can't find Oscar's body. When the girls leave and the boys get Oscar's body from the hiding place, which was dangling out the window, so we're all really lucky the girls didn't turn around on their way out of the building, there's a girl, like a student, in the room waiting on them. And Damon's like, what are you doing here? She hands them a note from Nora that says that every hour Oscar is missing, a Whitmore student will die, starting now. And then the girl stabs herself with like, I think scissors or something. It happens really quickly. And Stefan and Damon are like, oh my God. The teacher from Stranger Things is leading a ghost tour, bus tour through the town of Mystic Falls since it's like Halloween. Matt comes and shuts it down, but the guy is like, I'm not doing anything illegal, and if these people want to pay me to be here, I'm gonna do it. So he drives off, finishing the tour. Enzo comes to see Matt and says he wants to see the security cameras in town because he's trying to track Valerie. Stefan and Caroline still can't touch, but they're still hanging out and talking and getting closer. She's still pushing him to talk to Valerie, but he's insisting that there's no reason for him to do that and he doesn't want to. We're finally back to hosting events, okay? Remember when there used to be an event every freaking episode? We're getting back to our roots. There's gonna be a Halloween party. Stefan and Caroline decide to trick Nora and Mary Louise into wanting to go to the party so that they can keep an eye on them and make sure they stop them from killing students. Caroline goes so far as to give Mary Louise an outfit so that hopefully Mary Louise will siphon off the spell that Valerie did to her, and then that way she can touch Stefan again. But Mary Louise is like, yeah, I will not be going against Valerie. She's insane. Nora's with Stefan, also refusing to help, so everybody seems to be a little afraid of Valerie. Mary Louise comes out of Caroline's room to show Nora her dress. Nora says she looks nice, but it's a little plain, and she thinks that she should be sexier since she's supposed to be the devil. It's a heaven and hell ball, so Nora's gonna be an angel, Mary Louise is gonna be a devil. Mary Louise goes, oh, you want a devil? And then stabs a random passing student and goes, it's 15 minutes past the hour. That was overdue. I don't think Valerie's the one I'm scared of. We go back to Rick and Bonnie standing over Joe's body, trying to figure out what spell they need to use to make the stone work. But then Damon comes stumbling in with Oscar and he's like, we need to start here, please. At the party, Caroline tells Stefan she wasn't sure if she could count it as their first date. And he's like, this is definitely our first date. Also, you look so pretty. It's torture not to be able to touch you. Mary Louise gets mad at the bartender for flirting with Nora. Bonnie starts trying out spells. I think it's Bonnie's grimoire that she's using. No one ever talks about the grimoires enough. I want more information, but I think we're looking at Bonnie's collection of spells. I think. I'm gonna choose to believe that. So she starts trying random spells. They've got the stone on Oscar's chest. Nothing's working. One of them makes his eyes open, but then he goes back to sleep. Another one accidentally sets him on fire and Rick has to put out his body. She thinks that the way the stone works is that it creates a bridge between the missing spirit and the body. So if she can just find the right spell, she should be able to make that bridge permanent. Valerie comes home to find Enzo eating people in the living room. He says he saw her leave town on the cameras in a stolen car, and he knows she must have done something to Oscar. He wants to tell Lily, so she admits that yes, she did kill Oscar, but only to keep him from bringing Julian back into Lily's life. Enzo's like, who's Julian? And Valerie's like, if you ever want Lily to love you the way that you love her, you're gonna want Julian as far away as possible. Caroline and Stefan are watching Nora and Mary Louise sort out their issues on the dance floor. Caroline thinks that Nora wants like freedom and to like be able to like go and do her own thing, but Mary Louise obviously doesn't want to do that because she's afraid that Nora will leave her. But then the girls get all close and start dancing, so Stefan's like, I think you project a little bit, Caroline, and you don't know everything just from looking at them. That leads to her being like, I'm afraid you don't want to talk to Valerie because you are worried that once you look at her, everything will come back and you'll like her again and you'll leave me. He swears that's not it, and he just wants to wait until the Oscar Elena situation is handled, and then he'll ask Valerie to take the spell away. Mary Louise finds Nora eating the bartender that flirted with her, so Mary Louise rips her heart out. They get into a fight about how Nora wants attention and Mary Louise is always ruining her fun. Nora is actually upset because Mary Louise is like fighting to grow with her and adapt to the new world, and she feels like she's leaving Mary Louise behind. This leads to Mary Louise getting really sad and being like, you know what, Nora, do whatever you want, and then running off. Bonnie tries one more spell and it still doesn't work. She turns back to her book and then Oscar sits up screaming. Damon tells Bonnie that she is officially the most terrifying person he knows. Oscar's really hungry and also like super confused. All his memories seem to be shuffled around and he doesn't know who he is or where he is or what happened. When I say he's hungry, I don't mean like I've been desiccated for a day or so and I need to eat and like regain my strength. I mean like like Ripper level hungry, like he's crazy. Enzo, a man of action, goes straight to Lily and is like, "Who's Julian? I want to know everything." She says that no one that met Julian would ever say a bad word against him because he was a saint and the love of her life. Enzo is like, "Was or is?" She gets a message saying that Damon has Oscar and runs off before she has to answer. Stefan stops Mary Lou from attacking people by showing her the picture of Oscar and being like, "Okay, you're not allowed to kill any more students." She ends up like almost immediately breaking down and opening up to him about the issues she's having with Nora. He tells her about therapy. Then he says, "You know, Caroline's actually upset with me too, and they seem to be having a little bonding moment," until he goes, "The only thing standing between us though is your sister's stupid spell," and then he injects her with vervain and kidnaps her. Oscar is getting sick in the car with Damon and still downing blood like crazy. He goes like full Ripper mode and breaks the door off the car and jumps out while Damon's still driving and runs off. Nora is looking for Mary Louise and finds Stefan holding her with a stake to her throat. So Nora uses her magic and takes the stake away from him, but then before she can attack, Caroline jumps out and grabs the hand holding the stake and puts her hand over her mouth so Nora can't do any magic, and she's burning her because remember the vervain spell. So Caroline's like, "Keep burning or siphon off the spell," and Nora gives in and gets the spell off of her. Then Caroline snaps her neck. Caroline and Stefan are just alone in the hallway and they jump each other on sight. It's immediate. That haunted bus tour that Matt tried to shut down is still going on. Unfortunately for all of them, Oscar finds them and just shreds the entire bus. Lily catches him and stops him, and then Damon jumps out and breaks his neck to knock him out. Turns out Oscar's a Ripper, so that's a fun tidbit. Nora wakes up with Mary Louise watching her, but now Mary Louise is happy because Nora tried to protect her, so they make up and everything's fine. Caroline and Stefan hook up after she promises that she was just overthinking and projecting and that's all it was, and she understands if he doesn't want to talk to Valerie. She just wants to make sure that he knows that she would give him permission to do that if that's what he wants to do. And he's like, "Girl, I'm with you right now. I'm not with Valerie. Okay, if I wanted to be with her, I'd be with her, but I'm here with you." And they hook up. Matt finds Valerie drinking at the grill. He threatens to shoot her, but then Enzo shows up and stops him. Matt leaves. Enzo sits down with Valerie and tells her that he wants to work together to stop Julian from getting back to Lily. Lily and Damon burn the bodies in the tour bus, and then she gives him back Elena's body. He tells her he will be moving home because Stefan and Matt are not enough to keep the town safe from her crazy family. She tells him she thinks this like boyish refusal that he has to not let go of Elena's body is ridiculous, and it's proving to her that he's just terrified of finding out who he is without Elena. We cut to Damon writing in a journal for Elena. Help, that's so cute. He's drinking a special bottle of wine that he hid from himself, and it's like a metaphor for the fact that like he thought if he hid the wine and kept it for a really long time, one day it would be perfect, and now he's trying to like navigate like living his life without Elena and waiting for her, knowing that once she's back with him, then his life will be perfect. Let that make sense if you want it to. It doesn't matter. Basically, he's decided he agrees with Lily and he needs to figure out who he is without Elena, because up until now, that person was a bad friend, a bad brother, and a bad son. But he believes that Elena rubbed off on him enough that he could try to be a good person without her, and he wants to do that. We see Bonnie with Rick doing that spell that worked on Oscar on Joe. Lily is taking care of Oscar, who is still sick, and Tyler takes Elena's coffin away. Damon reminds Elena one more time that she's still with him, even if her body is far away, and his heart will always be in the coffin with her. And then Joe opens her eyes and looks at Rick. 3 years from now, Bonnie is somewhere that feels very, very clinical, like a support group atmosphere. She says she's been thinking about the past and how one stupid decision can turn your life into something you don't recognize. She says she made a mistake and it caused her to lose somebody that she loved, and she would do anything to take it back, but she can't. So now she's trying to figure out how to live with it. Yeah, dudes, she's in like a support group, hospital, facility place, and she goes back to her room and Enzo is there. She's like, "What are you doing here?" And he says, "Things are getting bad out there, love. You can't hide in here forever." And then she jumps into his arms and they kiss. What's going on? Miss Bennett, I see you. I see you. You said I want to keep the crazy, but I want to add an accent. I see you, girl. We're going to get into this, but I'm just going to say what I've already said on TikTok, which is that it's absolutely unhinged behavior after everything she did and said to my boy in season 6 for her to be making out with Enzo and be best friends with Damon and kind of flirt with him every once in a while. That's just crazy unhinged behavior, girly pop. Absolutely insane. You could have had it all. You could have had a witch vampire, a hot witch vampire, immensely powerful, deeply obsessed with you, and you went with knockoff British version of Damon. I understand. He's my number 3 for a reason, but like, come on, come on. Okay, so Joe's sleeping and Rick is watching her. Bonnie's hovering because she's trying to figure out what the heck happened and how the spell and the stone even work. Rick gives her the Phoenix Stone so that she can study it, and then Joe wakes up. She's also confused and also starving. Caroline and Stefan wake up in bed together, cuddling and being cute, but then Damon comes in and ruins it. Damon wants to turn over a new leaf and talk to Valerie and try to like fix things about the Oscar situation. He wants Stefan to come with him, and Caroline encourages it because she knows the big secret about Valerie and Stefan and she wants him to find out. Enzo is babysitting Oscar, who is still struggling with his Ripper urges. Lily tells us that Julian is coming home because Oscar gave her the location. Enzo's upset, and she's like, you should be happy for me about this. I hope that you'll grow to see it as a good thing. And she goes so far as to be like, there's no reason why you two won't get along. Girl, be so for real right now. Valerie is hunting for Julian. Damon wants to find out why she killed Oscar. She admits it, but instead of bringing up Julian, she attacks him, and then Stefan shows up and stops the fighting. Caroline's frantically studying, trying to pretend like Stefan and Valerie aren't off in a car together. Bonnie comes in and picks on her about finally being with Stefan, but then also makes some jokes about how she needs boy help. And she's like, Miss Cuddles is starting to judge me, okay? She knows that I need a man in my bed, but we can't find one. Put the bear down, Bonnie. Put it down. Valerie explains to the boys that Julian was like super evil Ripper monster dude, but Lily refused to see him for who he was, and so she just believes that he was this perfect saint. Damon brings up that Stefan was absolutely crushed and wrote like 10 pages about how much he missed Valerie and didn't want to lose her when Valerie left him back in 1903. Stefan is like, it's not like she cares one way or another because this is all a big joke to her. And Valerie's like, can we please just drop it? Joe is settling into being home with Rick, but she still has no memories or like a good grasp of the world. Like she doesn't know what a TV is or takeout. She's just deeply confused. Also, she eats meat now, and I hate that for her, but I will say that Rick tries to be like, honey, you don't eat meat, don't do that. And she's like, why wouldn't I eat meat? And she eats it anyway. But then Rick cuts his hand and she goes into doctor mode and she's like, oh, it's not serious. Do you have any bandages? I can fix it for you. And like handles his wound. Stefan calls Caroline to keep her updated on how the trip is going. And from the background, Damon is like, do not worry, Caroline. I've implemented a no hanky-panky zone, okay? Stefan and Valerie will not be falling for each other on my watch. Valerie then catches Stefan asking Caroline out on a date that night and she gets upset. Then she tells the boys that they're stupid and Julian is not alive. He's already dead. They just need to burn the body. Bonnie goes over to the Salvatore house to check on Oscar and finds Enzo with him. They've got fun banter, y'all. It's not super flirty yet, but it's like encroaching on that territory. It's silly and goofy and fun. They catch Oscar eating the maid, but Enzo saves her. Oscar says that he remembers Bonnie not from Myrtle Beach, which he says he's never been to, but because Bonnie is the one that got him out. Then he sees the Phoenix Stone. She asks him if he knows what it is, and he's like, there. You got me out of there. Valerie, Stefan, and Damon get to the location where Julian's body is being kept. It's a freaking coffin emporium, so they have to open all of them to find him. Valerie explains that Lily is planning to bring Julian back with the Phoenix Stone, which is what the boys obviously did with Oscar, so there's no point in lying. She tells them that the stone itself is stuffed with super old vampire souls, so they didn't bring Oscar back, they just stuffed a random soul into his body. So Damon has to call Bonnie and be like, hey, we fucked up. That's not Joe, that's a random vampire soul inhabiting her body. I need you to tell Rick, okay? Because I don't think that Elena would want me to hurt my best friend in such a manner. Remember when you said you were going to stop being a selfish friend, Damon? What happened there? Bonnie, because she's way too freaking nice to him, agrees and says that he owes her now. When Bonnie tries to escape the house and run away from Oscar, Enzo stops her and says he wants the stone. Oscar then comes and attacks them because he wants to take the stone for himself to keep them from putting him back into it. Then he figures out he has magic, so that's not good. Bonnie and Enzo take the stone and run. Joe finds the gun and her ruined wedding dress and is like, Rick, what happened to me? He has to tell her that her brother had a lifelong vendetta against her and he stabbed her on their wedding day. She says she remembers being stabbed in the heart, and Rick is like, no, sweetie, he snuck up behind you. It was awful. There was nothing I could do. I'm so sorry. She freaks out, takes the gun, and runs away. Stefan tells Valerie that they already got the spell off Caroline, and he wants to know why she bothered to put it on her at all. She tells him that she's not some horrible person, and he doesn't actually know anything about her at all. Stefan finds the coffin. Valerie siphons off the spell. They see Julian's body. She spits on him and then dumps gasoline on him so they can light him on fire. She tries to ignite it, but it won't catch. And then Nora and Mary Louise appear beside them, so they've been stopping the spell. Bo and Lily are also there, so it gets terrible really quick. Lily is so upset and so scary. Valerie tries to explain, like while crying, that Julian has always been a monster, but Lily's been so blinded by her love for him that she couldn't see it for herself, so Lily slaps her. Lily tells the boys that Valerie is a liar, and Julian is this wonderful, amazing man that she loved and fought for and waited for and changed for. She's like, he makes me better. That's something you know well, isn't it, Damon? Valerie rounds on the boys and is like, don't listen to her. If anything, Julian always made her worse. Who do you think told Kai to put the Sleeping Beauty spell on Elena? I both love and hate that he didn't come up with it because I like the fact that he's not as vindictive as everybody likes to think he is, but also don't diminish my boy's creativity like that. Come on. So Damon attacks Lily in a fit of rage, and then Bo explodes the coffin so that wood just flies everywhere. Enzo and Bonnie are running away. She tells him to give her back the stone because he doesn't really want Julian to be brought back, does he? He considers it, and she's like, God, Enzo, you deserve better than Lily. Oscar figures out how to siphon, gets into the room where they're hiding, and grabs Enzo, but he lets Bonnie go because Enzo's the one holding the stone. Oscar and Enzo get into a fight, and Enzo ends up staking him in the heart, killing fake demented Oscar all over again. Damon, Stefan, and Valerie wake up. Damon wants to just immediately go after Lily, and Stefan has to beg him not to be stupid and to think things through before they act. Stefan finds Valerie and starts pulling out all the little pieces of wood that have landed in her. She's basically fine, but she's like stuck on the ground with all the wood. She tells him that if she had known he would hate her so deeply, she would have done things differently. Then she tells him the truth about how she was coming back to him, but then Julian stopped her and realized she was pregnant. He's shocked by that fact, and then it gets even worse when she's like, yeah, so I told you Julian was a monster. He beat me and killed the baby, and I was too ashamed to come back to you and tell you what had happened, so I stayed away. Stefan cries. So Oscar's now dead again, and Lily's upset, but Enzo has to be like, look, honey, he was already dead. I just killed whatever random person got put into him. He goes to give her the Phoenix Stone, and she's thrilled, but he wants to know why Valerie would go to such great lengths to keep Julian away from Lily. Lily says that she calls what she feels for Julian love, no matter what anyone else believes. He wants her to pick, and she picks Julian, so he lets her have the stone and he walks away. Bonnie gets drunk and calls Rick and is like, I'm so sorry. That is not Joe. I put some random vampire into her body. My bad. It was a mistake. He's like, no, this is Joe. I know my wife. But then he finds Joe again, and she gives him back the gun and apologizes. She says that she's so confused because nothing about the world feels familiar, even her own reflection. He whispers, "You're not my wife." And she says, "No, I don't think I am." But instead of leaving her, he takes her hand and he's like, "I'll help you. We'll figure this out together. You're not going to be alone." Stefan cancels the date with Caroline. He says that things got complicated, but everything's fine and they can talk about it more later. And he lies about finding out about the baby situation with Valerie, which sucks because Caroline already knows. Stefan goes back to Valerie and tells her that he's angry that he didn't know. He's sad that something he could have had was taken from him. He wants to kill Julian for what he did. And he's so sorry that she had to go through all of that on her own. She begs him not to tell anyone, including Lily, and he agrees. Then he admits that yes, he would have wanted a baby with her in 1903 if it had all worked out. Yikes. He offers for her to stay the night with them. She says she needs to run and get as far away from Julian as possible, but he's like, no, I will keep you safe. Don't worry, I'm gonna kill that guy for you. Nora, Mary Louise, and Beau do the correct spell with the Phoenix Stone to get Julian back into his body. He has a scar on his chest that matches the one on Beau's throat. Julian wakes up and the spell works and it's him and he knows Lily and they both start crying as they embrace. Damon and Bonnie meet up and Damon is like, you know what? I've decided what I want to do. I want to let my mom get Julian back and I want her to be so stupid, happy and relieved and excited to be reunited with him. And then in 6 months, I want to kill him. He wants Bonnie to tell him that breaking his own mother's heart and crushing her spirit is the wrong thing to do and that it's not doing right by Elena. But Bonnie is like, you are doing right by her, Damon. Good plan. He's like, welcome to the crazy train, Miss Bennett. It was getting lonely on here by myself. They clink shot glasses and we cut to black. We're back in Rick's house with Damon and the girls. Damon asks, how long's it been since you talked to your fiance? Rick goes, she texted me earlier, but she's probably not on her phone because she doesn't want to be on it before the broadcast starts. Damon's like, look, Stefan's being hunted again, and it's only a matter of time before Caroline is next. I'm gonna throw up. Then on the TV, we see Caroline saying that she has a message for Stefan and she's all bloody because remember she got attacked. If the fiance comments aren't disgusting enough, you guys are in no way prepared for everything that scene and the following episode that I'm about to tell you about entails. We get a flashback of Stefan teaching a kid to shoot a gun to go hunting with him. It's like back in the 1903 time. It's his kid. I'm tired. Then the little boy Jacob goes missing and Stefan's just standing in the woods screaming for him. Then he wakes up and it's a dream and Caroline's like, who's Jacob? Who are you talking to? Valerie wanders into the room in a towel because remember she stayed the night. Stefan explains to Caroline that they're just helping Valerie stay safe from Julian and that she's not going to stay with them forever. Caroline's like, I'm failing to see how her being in danger is our problem, but he asks her to trust him anyway. We get a nice fun scene of Beau and Julian back in the Salvatore house running around the house fencing. They're like flipping over the stairs and jumping over furniture and it's fun. I like it. Lily catches them and is like, boys, 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 take it outside. Julian is super cheery and happy and excited and thrilled to be awake and alive and home to the point where even Lily is like, honey, you're being a little weird. You're being a little too happy. He's also being weird about her neck while he's kissing her. So maybe he's also struggling with bloodlust. Beau goes over to the boys and delivers a note from Lily inviting them to a dinner party to introduce Julian and like create peace amongst the families. It's very Michelson-esque. Rick is watching clips of the wedding from pre-Kai showing up. Bonnie calls to tell him that Joe's wandering campus and she really should not be out and about on her own. Also, she's been invited to the Julian party, so she can't handle it for him. Damon isn't going to go to the party, but Stefan is. Damon tells him about his plan to kill Julian in 6 months, and Stefan listens. And then he's like, small problem with that, brother. I'm going to kill him tonight. Tensions are high between Caroline and Valerie while Caroline tries to help her pick a new town to disappear to. Valerie is like, look, I don't want to fight with you about this. I don't care that you're with Stefan now. I just want to move on and leave this whole mess behind me. Caroline then realizes that Stefan does, in fact, know about the baby and Julian and all of that, which means he lied to her. Valerie is like, oh my goodness. I mean, he promised me he wouldn't tell, but to be honest, I didn't think you were going to be included in that. Now listen, this is another writing issue for me because I don't think Caroline should get as upset about this once she knows that Stefan promised Valerie he wouldn't tell, because it's very Stefan behavior to be loyal, and Caroline's lying to him about knowing. So she could very easily just be like, Stefan, I need you to know that Valerie told me first, and I was worried that you were going to be upset, so I didn't tell you, and I was waiting for her to tell you, and then she did tell you, and you didn't tell me that you knew, and now we're in this mess. It's like, girl, you walked yourself into this situation, walk yourself out. Julian's getting real weird with Nora, okay? I don't like his energy amongst the girls that are supposed to be his daughters. He tells her he will try to get Lily to loosen her grip on them so that Nora can have more fun like she deserves. Mary Louise comes in to get Nora for the party. Nora makes fun of her dress. But then Julian is like, there's absolutely nothing with what you're wearing, Mary Louise. You look gorgeous, as always. Sir, no, knock off the weird energy. So the party that Lily is throwing is like a whole big thing with all these different compelled guests to prove that her family won't eat anybody. Damon shows up, even though he said he wasn't going to come. And Stefan's like, what are you doing here? And Damon's like, oh, brother, I'm just here to stop your plan to redecorate. And Stefan's like, look, brother, the furniture that Lily purchased is psychotic and it needs to be disposed of immediately. Julian shows up to introduce himself to them and he's gross and sleazy and awful. Matt shows up to the party and Nora is like, oh my God, I'm so glad you're here. You look so handsome. Are you ready to be friends? And Matt's like, yeah, I'm in no way in the mood to accept your apologies. I am just here for my friends. Mary Louise comes over in a new strapless black dress looking all spicy. She tries to get flirty and like pick on Matt, but Nora's trying to behave now. So she's like, you're making it all worse, Mary Louise, and then takes Matt away from her. So Mary Louise is just standing there like, what am I supposed to do? Bonnie and Enzo arrive at the house at the same time, and he's like, since we're here together, we might as well just say that we're each other's dates if anybody asks. Lily and Enzo have an awkward and horrible hello to each other. Lily then tells Bonnie that she hopes that by Bonnie accepting her invitation, she's planning to let them start over, and Bonnie's like, oh, I hope you're joking, and just walks away from her. Stefan and Julian are playing pool. Damon comes into the room and is like, you guys ever heard that story about that crazy guy who thought he could kill a vampire while playing pool with him, and then launches into this weird story that makes it really freaking obvious that Stefan's trying to kill Julian, so Julian's suspicious? Joe's been searching on the internet to figure out what's wrong with her. She thinks that she has amnesia, and Rick is like, yeah, probably. Also, you're not my wife. And then Joe's nose starts bleeding, so something's definitely wrong with her. Lily gives a little speech to all the guests about how wonderful and amazing and special Julian is and how much she loves him, and she's so happy they're reunited, and she hopes that now the town can reach a state of peace. Julian seems to be closest with Beau. He tells him that he's a little bit afraid that his time in the stone did something to his mind, and he's not as sane as he's pretending to be for Lily. He tells him that Oscar had something of his, and he wants Beau to find the car to get it back for him. Julian then introduces himself to Enzo, and he pretends to think that Enzo is part of the staff, like the caterer for the party. Bonnie comes over after he walks away and is like, that was painful. You really need to pick up your dignity. What's wrong with you? And then she like puts her hands on his chest and starts like adjusting his tie. And he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, Lily's watching. Didn't you ask me to be your date so that we could make her jealous? And he's like, maybe. Remember when I said that the banter between them was fun and silly and goofy? Suddenly, it's filled with sexual tension. He thanks her and says goodnight and leaves. And Bonnie's standing there in front of the fire blushing. Caroline comes over to help with Joe and gives her vampire blood, but it doesn't work, and if anything, it makes Joe sicker. Valerie's also there, and she's like, are you guys a bunch of idiots? Clearly, putting a vampire soul in a human body is not gonna work. She's a corpse that was supposed to stay a corpse, and now she's dying again. Caroline snaps at her and is like, can you cool it? That's the mother of his dead kids. And then Valerie is like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that, because obviously she lost a baby too, so now she's even more upset. Mary Louise is off hiding from the party, feeling foolish about trying to impress Nora. Julian finds her and once again tells her she looks beautiful, and then compels one of the maids to let them drink from her. Mary Louise doesn't want to go against Lily, but Julian's like, I won't tell if you won't, and then they eat the maid. Then Mary Louise goes running off to find Nora and kisses her in front of the whole party. A random guest walks up to Bonnie and is like, do you know where the high school is? I don't remember my name. I'm quitting my job. Do you know where the high school is? And Bonnie's like, well, you've clearly been compelled. What's going on? The boys realize that Lily and Julian took over Damon's room and she got rid of all his stuff, so he's even more mad. Stefan once again is like, we need to take the house back and kick Lily out, and killing Julian is the first step in that plan. But Damon's like, no, it will be better if we wait. Matt comes in with a bottle of bourbon from Damon's special stash. When Damon snatches it and drinks it really quickly, it's filled with vervain, so he knocks himself out. Stefan then tells Matt, take Bonnie and go. It's about to get ugly. Stefan confronts Julian in the kitchen. They fight and Stefan throws him into the fire. Lily comes into the room and is like, what's going on? She puts Julian out, and then Julian and Lily stand up together and face Stefan as a unit. Damon wakes up and hears the fighting and quickly comes downstairs to save Stefan. Lily wants to know what she did to hurt the boys so badly. When they try to leave, Julian is like, sit down, sons, or I'll seat you myself. He explains that the Phoenix Stone is kind of like a hell dimension, and his time in there made him a little crazy because every day he was forced to kill Lily, and the only thing that kept him sane was knowing that he would never actually hurt her, so it couldn't be real. That turns into him threatening the boys. They get into another fight. Julian is older and therefore stronger than both of them, so he almost kills them both, and he only stops because Lily is like, absolutely not. Boys, get out of here. Jo is dying all over again. Rick is sitting with her, and I hate it. She remembered her name and says that she's pretty sure she's called Florence. He says, it's nice to meet you, Florence. I'm so sorry I put you through all of this. She tells him that she understands that he just wanted his wife back, and she's so sorry that she's not Jo, because Jo was a lucky woman and Rick would have made an excellent husband. He says it's been so nice to hear Jo's voice again and thanks her for letting him say goodbye. She whispers, goodbye, Rick, and dies. Caroline is quietly watching from the doorway, which is unfortunately very important. Bonnie and Matt go to the high school and find that random guest now wandering the hallways hooked up to an IV, and then they find a whole classroom of compelled humans hooked up to IVs. Valerie is watching the videos from the wedding now, except like the aftermath, like post-explosion, when the Geminis were all surrounding Kai and chanting. Caroline's like, oh my God, turn that off. What's wrong with you? Rick doesn't need to hear this right now. And Valerie's like, hold on. That was not a spell to send him to a prison world. She says it was actually the Geminis attempting to save the next generation of twins. And then she turns to Rick and goes, I think your babies are alive. Damon's livid with Stefan. He's like, I don't know why you insist on trying to be evil. Stay in your lane. You are the good brother. I am the bad brother. That's how this works. Stefan's still trying to keep Valerie's secret, but Damon bullies him as only an older brother can, until finally Stefan snaps and attacks him. I think he like throws him through a table, and then he admits, I got Valerie pregnant. That's why I want to kill Julian, because he killed my baby. Damon understands, but is also kind of like, broski, that was like 160 years ago. You need to move on. Stefan says he doesn't care how long ago it was. He wasn't expecting it to affect him as much as it does, but it does, and he wants Julian dead. Valerie explains that the Geminis have this rare little habit of occasionally using a transfer spell when the pregnant mom is in danger so that they can ensure that the twins will survive. They do a locator spell with Rick's blood to see if the twins are alive somewhere in the world, and it works, and the blood starts moving around the map. Stefan and Damon bond over how Julian reminds them of Giuseppe. Damon admits that he and Elena had also talked about potentially having kids once they were human. He was afraid of being like their dad, but also he just wanted to be an excellent father just to spite him. Stefan says that his only regret in his long life is not having a kid. And Damon is like, all right, brother, you got me. I will help you kill Julian whenever you want to, 100%, no questions asked, let's do it. Lily checks in on Julian. She's super upset and confused about why he would go after the boys like that. He says the boys came after him and he fought back because they deserved it. Then he says he doesn't recognize this version of Lily and he wants the girl that he fell in love with that didn't want her children. She says this version of her has no intention of watching her sons die. So then he breaks down and starts crying. He says that his time spent in the stone must have hurt him more than he realizes. His mind isn't right, like something's wrong and he can't control it. And he's actually frightened that he's not the Julian she remembers. She says that she will stand with him and help him fix it, but he can't act like that ever again. He agrees, but says that he needs to feel safe because her sons are definitely going to come after him again. She says, what you're asking for is going to take the cooperation of the entire family. And he's like, that'll be no problem. They love me. There's no way they'll say no. Valerie is finishing the locator spell with Caroline and Rick, but the blood goes off the map and like goes onto the table. So Caroline's like, dudes, this isn't working. This is cruel. You shouldn't be doing this to Rick. Don't get his hopes up. Clearly it's broken. It's not working. But then the map ignites, which is what Valerie said would happen if the spell worked and the twins were alive. Valerie looks around the room and she's like, this isn't possible. The babies, they're here. Caroline's like, floating in the ether? What are you talking about? Valerie looks at Caroline and goes, they're not on the map, Caroline. They're inside of you. That is, in fact, all you get today. How sick and twisted and absurd is that ending? I almost didn't want to do it to you guys. I was almost like, we should do one more, but no, we're suffering through this together. This is my least favorite plot line, maybe in the entire show, maybe in the whole show, is the Caroline Gemini incubator plot line. I want to curl up in a ball and go somewhere very far away. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. If you guys enjoyed this week's absolutely unhinged gossip session, don't forget to like the video and comment down below. I love talking to you guys each week. It's one of my favorite parts of doing this. I hope you're all doing so well. If you have any Christmas or Hanukkah or Yule plans, let me know them down below. As always, don't forget to subscribe if you aren't already. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you so soon. Have a good one. Bye!